Hey, are you looking for a fast-paced, high-intensity anime with world-ending stakes? Then go watch The Executioner and Her Way of Life.
Not too bad.
Ascendance of a Bookworm is not that. It's slow-paced, entirely focused on a single character, the plot's very easygoing, and the world-building centered inside a single city. So while it's not exactly the massive saga of Game of Thrones, or the full comedy of Dr. Stone, I still highly recommend the show. So the anime's about a book fanatic who dies and becomes a tiny sickly girl named Mine, who then grows up with a new family and does all kinds of experiments in the hope of introducing books to the common market. Also, she has a huge amount of mana that if it gets too high will kill her, so she has to join the church in order to have access to expensive relics to reduce it. Lastly, there's a plot about kidnapping her that ultimately fails. And that's it really. The theme's pretty obvious too. Her obsession with reading blinded her to her friends and family, and so in this new world she has to learn there's more important things than books. I mean, the way she died was literally being crushed by them.
Symbolism is when something in a story represents something else.
The real drama resides in her being separated from her family. Not her old one, whoever they were, but this new one. Again, very simple, but it's written very well indeed. You genuinely feel the warmth and care they give her, so when she gets separated from them, it tugs at the heartstrings. As for the bookmaking stuff, you see her fail, and fail again at making even a single page. Only after a long time and with the help of friends and new business partners does she finally manage to make some, but the satisfaction is eclipsed by some decent character drama. Lutz, the boy she's been working with, finds out she's not really Mine and confronts her, demanding to know what happened to his real friend. She then has to explain not only is she dead, but that she's replaced her for an entire year. At the end of it, he comes to accept her. After that, the plot revolves around how she can get magical items to help her mana problem. And with much heartache, she's forced to join the church, separating her from her family for long stretches of time. While there, she expands the bookmaking business, soon creating a whole new industry, built with a bunch of unpaid orphans working for her.
Why did you phrase it like that?
But honestly, she goes out of her way to improve their lives, and this gives her a motive beyond the paper industry. Anyway, Season 3 becomes more political, as different factions strive for greater control, and centered around this is a plot to kidnap Mine for her knowledge and revenue potential. Honestly, I'm a little conflicted at the action in this season. I mean, the show's been about thoughtful interpersonal relationships, economics, and the society of the city. So I would have expected some kind of diabolical plot to take her away, involving all kinds of clever back and forths between the heroes and villains.
I suspected I would be thrown over the ledge, which is why I took the liberty of stealing my brother's personal tank of oxygen.
Do you mean this tank of oxygen?
What?
I suspected you had a plan, so I pickpocketed you. Now I shall live and you shall die.
Yes, well, so sorry to disappoint, but I had a feeling such trickery would arise, which is why I'm also in fact wearing this inflatable life preserver.
Ah, but are you now? But you see, I knew you would be wearing an inflatable vest, which is why I secretly poked holes in it while we were playing chess.
Instead, the bad guys just use a burlap sack. On the other hand, I guess it shows Mine the threats posed against her, and more importantly, it forces her to use the magic gem, which she thought was a call for help button. Turns out it's an adoption contract seal, and the noble Sylvester gave it to her as a permanent protection without telling her what it is.
This is considered a dick move.
So yeah, she has to say a final goodbye to her family in a heart-wrenching scene and follows her new father away to a future no doubt filled with all kinds of scheming, factional plotting and more bookmaking. On the whole, aside from a few nitpicks, Ascendance of a Bookworm is absolutely great. The characters are well realised, their personalities, goals and dreams are brought across fantastically, and the relationships are very realistic. Even the side characters are brought across well, and you really get a sense of their own struggles. The girl who sold herself to a noble to cure her own mana sickness. The disgraced minor noble who becomes Mine's bodyguard. Mr. Benno managing a business in a delicate political system, while also teaching Mine and scolding her when she does stuff wrong. As for the micro-world building, it is done to a T. You really get a sense of place, from the wooden apartment the family lives in, to the different city districts, to the glamour of the church with its hidden underside. Though it resembles a basic medieval city fit with priests, commoners and nobles, you genuinely feel as though it's an entirely unique place with a distinct culture. As for the slow pace, it allows the calm tone of the show to take hold, while allowing the viewer to connect with the personal struggles of the main character. Essentially, it's pitching towards a niche, which I would say is far better than trying to do what every other isekai does. There's just one thing, one infuriating flaw with the show, like as if it went out of its way to slap me across the face. It was when the head priest learnt she was from an entirely different world, filled with far more advanced technologies, who then took over this child's body, and his response was,
最悪の気分だ。同調しすぎた。
同調。あ、もしかして私の感情が全部伝わっちゃったんですか？
意識を同調させていたのだから仕方あるまい。まったく君はこちらの身にもなりなさい。
Imagine if you discovered a child in our world started designing nuclear fusion, or a space elevator, or junk food that's actually healthy. But then you discover she came from an alien world filled with all kinds of advanced technologies. Oh, and on top of all that, reincarnation is a real thing.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, I gotta call my brother.
I'm fine with Lutz because he was more concerned with his old friend than where her replacement came from, which she doesn't actually tell him, by the way. But the priest, why is his reaction so calm and composed? Hang on, why is that Noble's reaction?
マインには我々の知らない高度な文化を持つ世界での記憶があった。しかも成人した女性としての記憶だ。
何？どういうこと？
Instead of...
What? What are you talking about?
I'm not lying when I say this is a slap in the face, because this was the very first scene of the entire show. This was the hook, the very thing that suckered in the viewer. What will happen to her when the truth is revealed, the anime asked. What would her parents do when they learnt their child died and this adult woman took her place for years? Would they still love her? Would they abandon her? What of the nobles? If they learned she has such powerful otherworldly knowledge, how would they respond? What of the priest? This knowledge of other worlds and life after death would massively change everything for him. What the hell would he do with that kind of knowledge? How would he possibly interact with her from now on? Yet none of this, absolutely none of this is explored, and it is maddening.
God damn you all to hell!
That aside, the show's pretty damn good, so if you don't mind a slow-paced drama, check it out. And now, a little bit about my book. It's a fantasy novel filled with all kinds of societies, and with 4 different plotlines running at the same time, you get several different perspectives on the world at large. Unlike Ascendance of Bookworm, which has brilliant micro-worldbuilding, Fractured Weapons mainly focuses on the macro side of things. You see nations collide, factions vying for power, and several cunning schemes with diplomats, merchants, rulers, and smugglers. Currently, I'm a fair ways through the sequel, Shattered Weapons. And believe me, it has a whole bunch more battles, character drama, and with even greater stakes. So, stay tuned for that.